Okay, for those of you with DHS out there, I found an interesting way to create some sort of missile functionality in Drika's Hotspot in Overgrowth. It looks a little bit like this. Missile comes up, arcs towards the player's position, and drops down on his head. But it's not actually following the player. I can move out of the way. Forward, backward, whatever. And it'll just keep restarting, finding my new position, and sending a missile towards me. And how it works is actually pretty simple. So first I have an animation that takes this red cube and moves it from one point at its origin to another point, which currently is up there, and I'll explain that in a moment. Then I have an animation set up, also a placeholder animation, that actually moves the previous point, the end point that this is going to. It moves this guy here between 2 points, which currently are down here and up here. And the reason I can do that is because you can actually go in and rename the placeholders. So the placeholders are automatically named animation key, but you can go in and you can change their name. And in my case, I've named this placeholder key test. And even though it disappears when I click on here and is replaced with the two placeholders for this animation, I can still reference it now that I've named it. So now this one just animates, and it looks for this object called key test and animates it between two other placeholders. Now I've actually named those two other placeholders key test top and key test bottom. Now both animations start off, they're 5 seconds long, and they play in parallel. So that means that while they're playing, I start doing other functions beneath it. And the very first thing I do is I transform the bottom to just beneath the player with a new function, a new option in transform object called use target object. And I transform the top the same way, but just to 50 units above the player. So animation start, this animation starts heading towards this point, this one then starts animating where that point is, and finally these two control what that animation looks like. And what that results in is a cube that starts heading towards a vertical point along the player's position. And that vertical point moves up and down. So as it heads towards the player, it's trying to move up to reach it, and then down to reach the player as the animation hits the bottom. So it's actually quite simple. Just two animations, two transform objects, and just a little bit of creativity in how I position everything. So there's all sorts of ways you could use this. You could have like a hail of arrows coming towards the player instead of trying to actually do that with real weapons. I have a use for it coming up in a campaign that you'll see soon enough. I don't know, cannonballs, lasers. You could take away the whole arcing function of this and just make it head directly towards the player's last known position, and then it could be like a laser. All sorts of different ways you could use this. Hopefully you find this useful, and I'll see you next time.